Imagine a world where gravity isn't permanent, but runs on a strict daily schedule. At 9 o'clock, sharp gravity turns on, and at 5 o'clock, it clocks out like an office worker. Everything in between is normal, but the moment gravity takes a break, life becomes a slapstick comedy show. At first, people would try to live normally. You'd wake up in the morning, pour your cereal, and suddenly all the cornflakes would float around like tiny satellites. Milk would drift through the air, and breakfast would turn into a space mission. Parents would scream at kids, "Don't forget your homework," and the papers would gently float out the window. Dogs would chase tennis balls only to watch them hover away like UFO says. Governments would attempt to handle it by releasing gravity timetables. Attention citizens, gravity will be active from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., lunch break from 12 to 1, then back until 5. Please plan accordingly. People would rush to the shops before the afternoon gravity outage. Imagine trying to buy watermelons while they're levitating around the produce aisle. Fitness centers would turn into chaos. Gyms would advertise anti-gravity aerobics, where people accidentally launch themselves into ceiling fans. Meanwhile, yoga instructors would pretend this was all intentional. Feel yourself rise above the earth. Literally. Transportation would be a nightmare. Cars would need seatbelts on the roof because at 5:01 p.m. the whole commute would look like bumper cars floating in slow motion. Airplanes would get confused too. A flight might take off normally, but when gravity clocks out, the passengers would just float around the cabin wondering if they should request a refund. Sports would become unrecognizable. Basketball would end the moment the ball refuses to come back down. Soccer games would turn into ballet performances with players spinning helplessly midair. Baseball would be the only sport still interesting, since every home run would literally leave the stadium and enter orbit. Of course, humans would adapt. People would start wearing heavy boots with built-in magnets to stick themselves to the ground when gravity quits. Office workers would tie their staplers to desks with ropes. Restaurants would switch to sealed bubble dining, so soup doesn't float onto someone's forehead. But not everyone would be upset. Billionaires would instantly brand it as a luxury. Come experience zero gravity dining, only $5,000 a plate. Conspiracy theorists would say gravity never really existed. It was just a government project on a timer. Politicians would argue endlessly. This gravity schedule problem started under your administration. Scientists would shrug. Honestly, we didn't expect gravity to unionize and demand vacation time. On the bright side, it might be the healthiest thing to ever happen. People would be forced into daily exercise just to catch their floating groceries. Falling would no longer hurt, since midday you could just hover gently down. But imagine the chaos of bedtime. Parents would tuck in their kids only to find them gently drifting toward the ceiling fan when gravity signs off. Alarm clocks would be useless too. Without gravity, you'd wake up floating next to the lamp. Eventually, society would accept it as normal. TV shows would schedule primetime viewing right after gravity hours so the actors wouldn't float away mid-scene. Weddings would be timed carefully. Do you take this person to be your spouse? I do. Wait, hold on. The bride is levitating. Life would become one giant blooper reel. And maybe, just maybe, humanity would finally appreciate gravity for what it really is. Not just a force of nature, but the hardest working employee on Earth, even if it insists on taking weekends off.